Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Birds. We are back with more fantasy basketball. We're about week 7, week 8 in the season. We are that deep into fantasy basketball. We haven't done a waiver wire video in a couple weeks, so let's throw some guys that we love adding from the waiver wire, guys that are rostered in under 50% of leagues, and most guys are available in nearly 70% of the leagues that we got on the list today. Let me know what you think about these guys that we want to be adding, and if there's any guys that I missed that you think should have made this list and be on our teams going forward in fantasy basketball. Let's not waste your time. Let's hop into our 6 guys that we want to be targeting off the waiver wire in fantasy basketball. First guy I want to look into adding is Killian Hayes, the point guard for the Detroit Pistons. Hayes has kind of been the forgotten man in Detroit, given the fact that they've drafted 2 point guards, top 5 in the draft over the past couple of seasons with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey out of Purdue. Let's not forget, Killian Hayes was a lottery pick himself just a couple years back for this Pistons team. Yeah, he's not as talented as guys like Ivey and Cade Cunningham, but those guys haven't been healthy this season. Cunningham's going to be out indefinitely with that injury, unfortunately. We thought he was going to be having a breakout season, but goes down with the injury, leaving room for Hayes to step into this bigger role. Ivy comes back healthy on Thursday night, but Hayes, in his absence, has looked phenomenal in his role. In his last 4 games, Hayes has put up 33 minutes a night, scoring 16 points a game while managing 7 assists and even 2 steals a game. Obviously, we don't expect the steal number to continue that highly. If so, he'd be a very solid category league player. But if he can continue the starting role alongside Jaden Ivey, getting 30 to 33 minutes a game like we expect going forward, Hayes is definitely a guy we can't leave on the waiver wire. Only rostered in 17% of leagues. Way too low for a guy getting starter minutes with a team that is depleted at the point guard position. Team really doesn't have much in this backcourt with Cade Cunningham out and Jaden Ivey coming back. So if you're able to grab a guy averaging 16 and 7 over his last 4 games with a couple of steals off the waiver wire for free, I'm more than happy to take Hayes, given the fact that we don't know what's going on with Cade Cunningham, how long he's going to be out in particular. Just a guy I don't want to be leaving on the roster with the potential in the usage in this offense for the remainder of the season. I'll get back to another guy I want to be adding on this Pistons team, but for right now, let's move on to 2 more guys I want to be adding for the Orlando Magic. Anthony, going to be rostered in more leagues than Markelle Fultz. He's available in around 50% of leagues, but if not available, I would not mind stashing Fultz. Cole Anthony in the beginning of the season, when healthy, averaging 15, 5, and 6 with a steal and a block per game. If that's to continue with guys like Jalen Suggs and Gary Harris missing time for this Magic team, I wouldn't mind adding a guy like Cole Anthony. We've seen the boom or bust potential with him. Yes, he's a streaky shooter and can have some serious droughts in the NBA for the field goal percentage. But when this guy's on, he can light it up on the scoreboard. So I love adding Cole Anthony with the usage he's going to see in this Magic backcourt with guys like we talked about, Suggs and Harris missing time. This Magic team has been depleted this season so far, missing time from guys like Wendell Carter, Banchero, and those point guards like we talked about. With Fultz coming back, definitely a guy I don't want to be leaving on the wire. We know former number 1 overall pick, hasn't lived up to the hype, but still a guy very talented, a very solid playmaker for this Magic team. And we saw what he was able to do last year in the years before for this Magic team when healthy. He was a very productive fantasy basketball player. I don't expect him to have quite the value he had in previous years, given the fact that this Magic team is so deep with young talent. Banchero, Wendell Carter, Franz Wagner, these guys should still demand a very high usage rate in this offense. But Fultz, in deeper leagues, don't mind the stash, given he's only rostered in 10% of leagues. So he's out there in a lot of leagues. He's already in his second game back, given 29 minutes. So if you can get starter level minutes out of Markelle Fultz, a guy only owned in 10% of leagues, definitely a guy we should be looking into adding if Cole Anthony's not available. But both of these guys, with the usage they should have for Orlando, want to be adding these guys in the backcourt for the Magic. All right, we said we were going to get back to this Detroit Pistons team. We're here with Isaiah Stewart, only rostered in 22% of fantasy leagues. Very surprising number 4 Stewart, a starting center in the league. We thought Jalen Duren was going to be able to have a pretty profitable run in Detroit while Stewart was out with injury. That didn't end up happening. A lot of people dropped Stewart on the waiver wire, forgetting about him. This is still a guy who's going to be able to get 12 and 10 a night, not providing much in the steal and block category as you would like from a center. But in points leagues where we're just worried about counting stats, I don't mind a guy who's a threat to get a double-double on a nightly basis with 30 to 33 minutes a night. Marvin Bagley's also looked good for this Pistons team, but we've kind of seen what Marvin Bagley is. He's jumped from team to team. He hasn't really lived up to the hype coming out of Duke. Very unfortunate, underwhelming player, but I still would prefer Isaiah Stewart, only rostered in 22% of leagues. I want to be grabbing him. With how depleted this Pistons team is, he might be able to put up some good counting stats moving forward the rest of the season. So definitely, if you have a free roster spot, do not leave Stewart on the waiver wire. I mean, in his 2 games returning from injuries, he's already back to his form averaging right around 15 and 9 a game in the last 2 games. Yeah, they did go to overtime with the Mavericks, but still 37 minutes in the overtime win versus Luka and the Mavs. Very promising stuff for a guy who's available in nearly 75% of your leagues, so definitely want to be adding him. All right, now I want to talk about a guy's only to be considered in the deepest of leagues. A lot of people playing in 14 to 16-man leagues. They wanted some guys to be added on this waiver wire segment. So we got a couple guys. A couple weeks ago, we talked about guys like Bruce Brown and Jose Alvarado. They've been extremely productive in the roles for their respective teams. Definitely been able to help some teams in those deep leagues. So we're very proud of the Brown and Alvarado pickups that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. Let's talk about 2 more guys we love picking up. Available in over 95% of leagues, so he should be available in a lot of your deeper leagues. First guy I want to be talking about is Joe Harris, the shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets. Coming back from injury, missed the first portion of the regular season, but he looks to be back on track for a Brooklyn Nets team trying to hit its stride going forward through the regular season. The minutes are ramping up for Harris. 2 of the last 3 games, he's actually seeing 36 plus minutes a night. And in these 3 games, he's getting around 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal per game, along with why you want to be adding Joe Harris to 3-point field goals made in category leagues. Definitely a 3-point streamer we want to be looking at going forward. Getting the rotation minutes with guys like Ben Simmons out with injury. With this Brooklyn Nets team, so inconsistent with who's going to be available on a night-to-night basis. Joe Harris, a consistent player you can count on each and every night. Very valuable for this Nets team. So if you need a 3-point streamer who's going to shoot a very high percentage from the 3-point arc, Harris is definitely going to be your guy. Averaging right around 16 points in the last 3 games with 2 to 3 3-pointers made per night. Definitely valuable streaming potential for Harris in those deep leagues only. In regular leagues, not really a guy we want to be rostering. But like I said, in those very, very deep leagues, available in 98% of leagues, some guy I want to keep my eye on if he's able to get his minutes back up to 30 to 33 minutes like we've seen in the past for Joe Harris. All right, the last guy I want to be talking about in those deep leagues to be adding is Dyson Daniels, the guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. Starting off the season, wasn't really in the rotation, fell behind guys like Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, but as of late, we've seen Dyson Daniels, why he was drafted in the top 10 of the NBA draft. A very, very talented lottery pick for this Pelicans team, and we're kind of starting to see what he can do on the floor for this team with a couple of guys injured like Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. Even with CJ Beck, we've still seen Dyson Daniels able to get a solid chunk of minutes for this Pelicans team. These young stars for the Pelicans really emerged this season alongside Trey Murphy and Alvarado. But Daniels' ability to play make in the full and half court, very, very intriguing for this Pelicans team. They don't really have that marquee point guard for this team. They rely on guys like CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion to do a lot of the scoring, but no real true playmaker for this team. And Daniels could be the long-term option at point guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. A very long guard, which is kind of the new age point guard in today's NBA. The modern, long, athletic guard, able to stretch the floor and do a lot of things passing. Definitely how the league is trending towards. In his last 4 games, he's averaging right around 28 minutes a night, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal per game, and right around 8 points per game. Not as much scoring as you like from Daniels, but he's still just a rookie getting acquainted in this offense. And we've seen his numbers improve over the course of this young season. Available in 98% of leagues. The waiver wire is very, very bare at this point in the regular season, especially in those deep leagues with 16 teams in the league. So if Daniels is available, definitely want to be acquiring him. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Waiver Wire Targets. Let me know what you guys think of these targets, if I missed anybody, or if some of these guys you don't think are worth adding. Let me know. And if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Usually pretty good about answering questions. So if you guys want any opinions on anything fantasy basketball related, drop it in the comment section. We thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode of The Fantasy Birds.